everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a video about my favourite foundations. A lot of you are messaging me and asking me what are my favourite brands and is there any particular brand that I really love the most. The truth is that there are so many incredible brands out there and there are little bits and pieces that I love from a lot of the brands. So I wouldn't say that in my kit I have exclusively any one brand, but I always am testing, I'm always reviewing, I'm always seeing what the latest products are, and then I have my favourites that I always kind of go to. So foundation has been the biggest kind of comment or question that I've been asked about in terms of what's my favourite foundation, what type of coverage do I like, what sort of textures do I love. And I thought I'd put this video together to show you my top foundations that I absolutely love all the time, which includes a mix of high-end, mid-range and then sort of drugstore sort of brands, and also at different varying price points, plus also the textures are quite different and the finish that they leave you with is quite different as well. So I wanted to go through that all here today and show you what they are and why I love them and tell you a little bit about them all. So let's get started. So the first kind of set of foundations that I want to talk about are what I'd call tinted moisturisers, illuminating kind of foundations, really light coverage which give you a beautiful kind of glow to the skin. All of the ones that I've chosen have got an SPF built into it, so these tend to be the ones that I would wear if I was on holiday, across the summer, or if I just want a really light kind of finish on them because I've been tanned and I'm back from holiday and I just want something to sort of like bring out even more of that illumination in my skin. These are the ones that I would wear if I was going out for the day and I just want really minimalistic kind of foundation coverage on my skin. I've done some really good skincare. My skin is looking amazing. So these are the ones that I would wear if I was in that kind of mood, plus also if my skin was actually looking very healthy and vibrant after a holiday, or if I've just been eating well with the right diet, taking lots of water in, and also just really sort of like feeling good about my skin and all my health and well-being. So this is the Light Wonder and this is by Charlotte Tilbury. It's got an SPF of 15 in it. This is a really beautiful kind of like veil sort of foundation that you can put on across your whole skin if you really don't want to wear anything too much kind of medium coverage or a heavy coverage. You can kind of go back into it with more coverage in certain areas where you want to sort of build it up. So it does allow you to do that, but in all it really does give you a beautiful sort of like really vibrant sort of luminous sort of like glow to your skin, and a small amount goes a really long way. Price point on this is quite great. It's super affordable, I would say, and it lasts quite long because I find that just with a little bit it can take you a long way rather than sort of having to keep on going in there with more kind of product. Two of my favourites are the Mercier tinted moisturisers. One is an illuminating tinted moisturiser and the other is an oil-free one. Now they do different things and that's why I've got both of them here to show you. This one I love wearing when I'm away on holiday, or I love sort of wearing it in the summer when I'm going out for days out. It again gives you a really beautiful kind of illumination to the skin. I'm just going to put a little bit on here. So that's what it looks like. And then if you see, of course I've put a bit too much, but it really has a beautiful kind of sheen through it. And now all of these colours that I've chosen here, they are slightly darker than my own skin tone, and the reason for that is because I tend to wear them when I am tanned. So I've always gone a couple of shades darker to what I normally am because I know these are the ones that I would wear across the summer or if I'm on holiday. The next one is again Mercier, and this is again the tinted moisturiser, but it is oil free. Now I love this one because often enough when I'm on holiday and I want to wear a tinted moisturiser, I tend to find that, you know, my natural oil will break through because I'm not really kind of putting too much makeup or product or powder or anything on my skin because I just really want to be glowing at the time. Now, being glowing in a tinted moisturiser sometimes means that your oil will sort of like break through onto the skin. And to avoid that, this is the one that I would wear. Again, this is with an SPF, so it's suitable to wear in the summer. And to be honest, you can also wear these through the winter as well, because again, it can kind of give you a little bit more of a colour into the skin if you're looking a little bit paler with the cold and winter. And again, with the winter, you should always be wearing an SPF all throughout the year. So these also work for when it's the colder season as well as kind of the warm season. But I tend to sort of like go with these ones always during kind of spring and then definitely going into the summer season. So with this one, it is suitable for all skin types, whereas with this one, this is particularly suitable for people with oily skin, sensitive skin as well. So this one is quite a good one for that. There's not much difference in terms of price point. I think it's about £4 difference depending on where you shop from, but it is kind of like in the mid-30s range, beginning 30s pound range for both of these products, as opposed to some of the other ones that I'm going to show you. But I do love them a lot. This one particularly contains vitamin E in there, so it's really good, and that also protects the skin against kind of damaging effects of the environment as well. So this one is super good to wear, you know, even if you're going from kind of like a day to an evening sort of event as well. You just have to build it up on the coverage that you use with it. So that's kind of my tinted moisturizers. Next on to a foundation. But the foundation has an effect of a kind of illuminating foundation. And I particularly love this one because I feel like it's the right kind of mix between a tinted moisturizer and what I think a foundation should be. So if you're looking for kind of a foundation which also gives you the same kind of results of a tinted moisturizer or an illuminating moisturizer which leaves you with a glowy kind of skin, I think this foundation is great. I also think the price point is incredible as well, and for a drugstore brand, I think I was so pleasantly surprised when I tried it. So this is the foundation. It's the Rimmel Wake Me Up foundation. It's in 300 Sand. It's got a beautiful kind of radiant sort of glow to it, and I'm going to show you that here. And again, it's slightly one shade darker to what I am normally, but I'm going to show you what that looks like. And again, it gives you this really pretty kind of glow to it, but you can really build this up, and it doesn't feel too greasy at all. It kind of goes on a little bit, it almost like has this sort of mid-tone sort of matte effect, yet it leaves and that's how it kind of spreads on, but it sort of leaves a bit more of a sort of glow to it. And so that's why I say that this is kind of what I would class as, you know, a middle ground between if you want to wear a foundation but you still want to kind of get that glowiness into the skin. This is perfect for that. Of course, you can kind of tone down the areas that you don't want too much illumination in your skin. But this is a brilliant sort of product which I really like. It's SPF 15 as well, so again it helps to protect the skin against sun damage, and these are the kind of color shades that I would sort of like tend to go for my skin: olive skin, Asian skin. But there is a huge range of different shades in this product brand, which I've seen and I also have. So you know, you really go from kind of the lighter shades right through to kind of the darker shade tones as well, but it brings out the same kind of effect into it. So it's really beautiful for kind of getting that sort of vibrancy again into the skin. This has got 6 shades in it. It has got vitamin C in it, which is amazing for your skin, and it really kind of helps with sort of like treating the skin and bringing that brightness into the skin as well with the vitamin C. So you really kind of get that effect when you place this on. I tend to use this quite a lot on set especially when I want to kind of get an illuminating kind of skin, a really healthy looking skin, without kind of putting on like maybe a strobe cream or packing it on with kind of like a highlighting powder or anything, and I just want the skin to look beautiful. So this is what I tend to go for if I am on set, and I want that kind of like effect to it. I would also go in with the tinted moisturisers as well, and perhaps even the lightweight foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. I forgot to say that this Light Wonder is in shade 9, which is quite a dark shade for my original skin tone, but again, I tend to use this when I go a little bit darker in the sun. So when I'm tan, this is perfectly suitable for my skin. Price point wise, great price point as well, because obviously it's a drugstore brand, so you know, it's not as expensive as the Laura Mercier ones are, and still affordable, but because it's been discontinued, I'm not quite sure when they're going to bring it out and if they're going to bring it out, but I really hope they do. The Charlotte Tilbury is a similar price point to the Laura Mercier one, particularly this one here, the Tinted Moisturiser Illuminating. So there's not much difference between them in terms of price, but I guess, you know, depending on what you want to go with, you know, I guess it's personal choice. With the Charlotte Tilbury one, this is SPF 15, this is SPF 20. So I guess if you are prone to sort of, you know, being in the sun and being irritated by the sun, you need more protection, then I would always go for this one. But if you think you can get away with it, then obviously go with SPF 15. I would personally always go for the SPF 20 for my skin, and that's why I tend to sort of wear this one more in the summer and when I'm on holiday, as opposed to wearing this one when I am kind of probably in the UK more. And actually I also sort of maybe take a pea-sized amount and maybe mix it into my other foundations just to kind of give it a little bit of glow, particularly the ones that I like, which are a little bit matte, but I just want a little bit of a glow into it. I do kind of mix this product into that as well. Okay, so next up I'm going to show you what I would class as kind of medium coverage products that you can kind of build up in terms of the foundation. Now these are the ones that I would use if I was going out for the day and I wanted a little bit more of kind of a look which is not so illuminating. It is a foundation, not a tinted moisturiser, but it hasn't got heavy coverage on it. So these are the ones that I would mix in if I wanted to, with a little bit of a illuminator or a strobe cream, or even my own moisturiser, just to give it a little bit more of a brightness or glow into my skin. But usually when I use these kind of foundations, it's usually because I want my makeup to last, I want a really lovely base, but I don't want it to be so heavy. And it kind of works with sort of building it up from a kind of day look into an evening look as well. Although when I'm going into an evening only event, then I would tend to sort of go with the more heavier sort of coverage foundations. Nevertheless, let me show you which ones these are, and they are really a mixed range. There's a little bit of there's one product which is a drugstore brand, which I would call kind of a really good price point, affordable price point, and then there are several other products that I use which I would consider as kind of high-end foundations. Now I want to start off with talking about the Maybelline foundation here. This is the Superstay full coverage kind of foundation, but I love this texture because I feel like just a little bit can go on. And because it's quite watery, you don't need a lot at all. And so I feel like it gives you kind of that foundation that you want on your skin, but it doesn't really feel heavy at all. So I love this one because, again, although they say it's full coverage, I just tend to put just a little bit on, and it gives me that medium coverage that I want. And it's so good because it kind of dries up quite matte. And that's what I tend to prefer for my skin if I'm going into kind of a day event and then I'm going to be wearing it for such a long time. I don't tend to really go with anything kind of illuminating in my foundation. I tend to always stick to kind of a matte foundation, and then I will sort of like set it with powder and build it up if I need to as I go along. Otherwise I will just kind of just stick to this and just set it with powder, just the one application. The reason I like this Maybelline one is, again, when you take a little bit into your hand, you can sort of work the product in with your fingers, although it's a little bit more runny compared to the other ones that I'm going to show you. So it can get a little bit fiddly, but it's perfect for kind of, you know, a beauty blender if you have sprayed it with a little bit of water or dampened it and then you're applying it on. It's really easy for it to sort of like go onto the skin with a beauty blender. I would say a foundation is easy too, but I prefer this particular foundation to go on with the beauty blender or very quickly with my fingers, just massaging it in. And because it's quite thin, I feel like I can work it in and just sort of like really make sure that I penetrate it into my skin to give it that sort of flawless look. So this is the one that is kind of what I would call like drugstore sort of brand and an affordable sort of price point onto it. The other three that I've got, they are more higher end, and I'm going to show you them here. Now, a lot of these I tend to use on my brides. So particularly the Giorgio Armani Silk Illuminating Foundation. I just find this is one of my favorite ones for brides, other than Bobbi Brown's, which I'm going to show you a little bit later. But I've got this in so many skin shades and tones, so that I can use it on from pale skin all the way to kind of medium skin tones, and then to a darker skin shade as well. But I just find these just so easy and workable, particularly when I'm working with brides, and you know, it's easy enough for it to be applied with a brush. It's easy enough for it to be applied with a beauty blender as well. I tend to not use this with my fingers. Having said that, you could probably use it. It's just because I tend to use this a lot more on brides, and with that I always tend to use like a beauty blender or a brush. So this is quite a high price point, obviously, and then the second and third ones is the Sensai Foundation, and again this is kind of like a satin sort of foundation, so it's got a very similar sort of feel and sort of texture to it like the Giorgio Armani Silk Illumination Foundation. This one that I'm using is in Honey Beige, and this is my skin shade, so I do tend to use this on myself rather than on clients. I love this one again because, again, it's got the SPF in it. It's SPF 20. And a little story about this, that I was colour matched by Mary Greenwell with this one. She's an incredible makeup artist. The next one is the Tom Ford Traceless Perfecting Foundation. This is in 6.5 in Sable. Now, I love this because of this little gadget, and I just find it really nifty, really cute. I tend to take this one on holiday with me because, again, it is more of a sort of medium coverage foundation. It's quite creamy, actually. It is almost like borderline sort of full coverage as well, in my opinion. And I love this one because if I don't want to have kind of a dewy look to it, then I tend to sort of like go with this foundation, particularly if I'm going abroad for a wedding or something and I don't quite want you know, to just be shiny too much, but I want to sort of like wear something throughout the day, and I want to set it down with powder so that it gives me the kind of effect that I want on, or the finish that I want on my skin. So although I've chosen this in kind of the mid-range texture part in terms of the foundations, what I would say though is this is, again, a really good kind of middle ground between what I would call a medium, light to medium sort of foundation, and then a medium to sort of heavy coverage foundation, because it is buildable and it has got that kind of creamy sort of thick consistency. Not as much as the full coverage foundations that I'm going to show you, but it definitely is much more than maybe like the Giorgio Armani Silk Illuminating Foundation, and then of course like the Sensai Foundation as well. And particularly also the Maybelline one, because the Maybelline one, the texture of that I find is a little bit more runnier. But so far, these are all of the ones that I love, and I love them for all different things. The next one is a recent find, and this is the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation. It's a 24-hour coverage sort of foundation, and I really love this because I feel like the Maybelline one and this one are quite similar. The only difference is I find this one a little bit more thin, a little bit more runnier in terms of the application, rather than this one being a little bit more thicker. Not as thick as kind of the Tom Ford one, but it still gives the same kind of effect and finish on both of them. So this is a new one that I have added to my own personal kit and my own personal makeup look when I want to wear it. And I don't think I've shown you what it looks like on a video, so I might have to use this one in the coming kind of videos that I do for you, just to show you what it actually looks like. But I do love this one because I find that it's a really, it doesn't feel heavy on the skin at all. Really good affordable price point as well, similar to kind of the Maybelline ones, especially if you don't really want to wear anything you know, which is kind of like a higher end one or anything a bit too expensive, but you want to get away with something which is a little bit more friendlier on the pocket. Then I would definitely go with kind of the Urban Decay one, the Stay Naked. This colour is 51WY. Again, it's a buildable one, so you know, you can kind of just put one application and then that's it, you're done with that. Or you can kind of go into and just build it up into certain areas where you want a little bit more coverage. I would, in all of these ones though, I would probably, other than the kind of Silk Illuminating foundation, if I need to build it up on a bride or a client, then I would. But otherwise, all the other ones, I tend to sort of just go with one application all across my skin and then sort of finish up with concealer, contouring, a highlighter, or you know, a darker shade for creating the sort of like shaded area on the foundation. So that's kind of like the mid-range of foundations that I love in terms of coverage. Like I said, in terms of price point, the Tom Ford, the Giorgio Armani and the Sensai ones are similar pricing. The Tom Ford, the Sensai one and the Giorgio Armani are similar pricing, and then the Urban Decay and Maybelline are quite similar pricing on that as well. So I hope that helps in terms of with kind of light to medium coverage foundation, and then also some of them being able to sort of build it up to full coverage. Now let's get on to kind of the full coverage, the ones that I would always go to if I was going from day to evening, or an evening look where I want it to be really long lasting. I want a little bit more heavier coverage. I want it a little bit more thicker consistency if my skin is playing up at the time and I can see more blemishes, more pigmentation, and I want something to just be, just apply and just take away and give me that kind of flawless kind of look to it. So I want to go through these ones with you. Now I want to sort of like talk about a couple of them first. So I love the Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Foundation. This I love because, again, it doesn't feel heavy on my skin at all. It's got an SPF of 15, so it's really good if you're going to wear it during the day and then going into the evening as well. And what I find with this one is it's really easy for me to work in with my fingers, because as you know, I really love working with my fingers when it's on my own skin. I tend not to do that with clients, but I do love foundations or concealers or creams that I can sort of like use to sort of like warm up on my fingertips and then apply on and sort of really sort of like smoothly massage it on. So that's one of the ones that I love. And again, with this one, you can kind of get away with sort of a light sort of coverage on it as well by just taking a small amount. Sometimes I mix this in with my moisturiser and just apply it on in that kind of way, depending on how I'm feeling, where I'm going, what I'm doing on the day. So that's the Bobbi Brown one. Now, probably one of my favourite sort of foundations of all time is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. And I love this because it just gives me the coverage that I need. So sometimes especially when I'm going out for weddings, or I'm going out for like a really full day, and then I'm going into the evening and I'm only going to get one time to sort of apply on my foundation. This has been colour matched for me at one of the stores where I've been into. So it's in 4C3 Soft Tan. This is my colour shade, and I do love it. I've also got the concealer from them as well, and so I tend to use that both combined together, particularly in the summer seasons when I'm at weddings, or kind of, you know, longer sort of evening parties and stuff as well. Again, I would say this is kind of like a mid price point compared to sort of the Giorgio Armani's and the Tom Fords, but I love it, and I will probably keep on continuing to buy this as one of my go-tos every single time I'm looking for kind of like a sort of heavier coverage sort of foundation. This is my go-to one for sure. If you've seen some of my videos across the summer, you will have seen me wearing this one, and I just feel like as a base it just keeps my makeup on and keeps it looking really flawless. It doesn't allow any oil to kind of come through. Even if it's a really bright and sunny day, I just feel like this foundation just absorbs in everything that it needs to do, and it does the job that it's there for, which is to sort of make my foundation and my makeup look exactly like it looked when I first applied it compared to the evening as well. I had to talk about the Maybelline Fit Me foundation, which is a matte poreless foundation. There are several reasons I wanted to talk about this one, particularly because I just feel like in terms of colour shades, there are such a vast amount of these colour shades in the range, and I think it's really beautiful and lovely to see that they go from, you know, the really palest kind of skin tones to the really kind of dark skin tones as well. So these ones I tend to keep again in my kit because I feel like it's got a really good range in terms of colours. These are not my skin shade colours, but I have got it somewhere here, but I just can't remember where I've put it because it's been going from kind of like my day bag to kind of being in my makeup studio here at home, and then also in my kit as well, because I use these quite regularly in my kit bag when I want kind of that matte sort of look. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos where I've talked about my pores and my pores being really visible. Now, I love this foundation because I don't really have to wear a pore eraser when I put this foundation on, and I just feel like this literally just glides on. My favourite thing to kind of combine this up with is the Fit Me poreless powder as well, because again I just feel like it totally glides on. In fact, I think I've used it in one of the videos that I did with Denny Daily, where I used the foundation and I also used the powder combination together. And I remember I was on a Maybelline job, and I'd been using these foundations there, and that's when I discovered that they were so incredible that I really wanted them for my own kit, so I got the full range as well. So that kind of is what sort of like gave me the discovery around this product as well. And again, I would say super affordable price point range, so it's not going to break the bank. And again that's why I find that, you know, sometimes when I find a drugstore brand that I really love, I will go out and get the full range of colours, or at least a different variation of them to suit every skin shade, because it's affordable, they're doing the job, and it doesn't really have to be expensive for you to use it to kind of give you the effect that you want. There's lots of products here that I love for such different reasons, and sometimes, you know, I want to go with a high-end product because I want to kind of feel the part and feel, you know, luxurious, and but then equally at the same time I just want to be fun, free and carefree, and just go with something a little bit more playful, a little bit more quick to apply, and not feel like I'm using, you know, a product which is so expensive on a regular basis, because I like to keep some products, you know, for special occasions, and then some products that I want to use on a day-to-day kind of basis. And definitely the Maybelline ones are ones that I would definitely use on a day-to-day basis, but not just for that more so because of the effect that it gives me, more so because it means that I don't have to use a pore minimizer or anything like that as well. So that is the Fit Me by Maybelline. Last but definitely by no means least, I wanted to talk about the Fenty foundation. Again, incredible range of foundations. I would probably class this in the sort of like range around sort of like the Estee Lauders. Incredible that it's now available in Boots as well, but I got this when it was first out in Harvey Nichols and queued up for absolutely ages to sort of like get hold of it, and came away with a load of other sort of Fenty products as well. But again, I love this one because it's got that heavy sort of coverage that I sometimes need, and I build it up as I go along. Plus also I just feel like it's the bottle I just really love. Although it's glass, I'm always like wary of that, but I just find that this bottle is just really compact and easy to sort of like put away in kind of like a day bag. It's slim enough to sort of like slide in, and I just love the consistency of it on my skin. I don't tend to sort of like build this product up. I tend to take one layer and then I'll work that usually in with a beauty blender. This product is probably the only one that I don't really like using my fingers on, because I'm not quite sure, I'm just not comfortable with how it sort of like goes on with the fingers, but I definitely love it with a beauty blender dampened, and I definitely love it with a brush as well. So for that reason, I tend to use this on clients, and I tend to use my own skin shade on myself. Now this is a lighter version of my skin shade, and this is probably the version that I use when my skin is quite pale in the winter, but I've also got the next kind of couple of shades up from this, which is what I tend to use on day-to-day sort of like basis through the spring and the summer. So that is it, guys. That is a kind of review of my favorite foundations and the reasons that I love them, in terms of affordability, in terms of textures, in terms of finish, in terms of how I would use it, when I would use it. I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's provided to be useful to you. Do let me know down in the comments below. And you know, there's so many incredible foundations out there now. I just feel like there's been this splurge of different foundations, concealers, textures and innovation that has been just launched, particularly in this year, the latter part of this year. And I think we're just going to see more and more of it. It's particularly incredible for me as a Asian person to sort of like see different skin shades and tones coming out for me, for the clients that I serve, because I don't just serve people who are my own skin shade. I tend to work with clients of all different skin shades, all different ages, and you know, that therefore requires different finishes and textures in terms of the foundations as well. So I hope this has given you a really good overview of what I like, why I like it, and what I keep in my kit, what I personally use on myself, what I would use with clients. And yeah, do follow me on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and leave down any questions that you've got for me below, and any other videos that you want me to do. For now, take care and I'll see you next time.